Hello and welcome to another episode of Pretty Brilliant. If you're new to me, my name is Brittany Nicole. I'm a neurolinguistics expert, and on this channel, we talk about reprogramming your mind to level up your life. So this episode is inspired by a TikTok video that I recently posted that went pretty viral about shame and navigating people's negative projections. I got a lot of comments asking about how to improve self-worth and confidence. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So if you're struggling with confidence, and the question that you're asking yourself is, how do I improve my self-worth? How do I build my self-worth? Before we can do anything about that, you have to actually understand what self-worth is. And self-worth is a tricky word because it has a built-in economy to it. Here's what I mean. Worth is not an isolated state. It implies valuation and comparison. For example, this YSL bag is currently worth $1,600 on NeimanMarcus.com. Now, imagine if money didn't exist. If I were to ask you, what is this bag worth? The question no longer makes any sense because I no longer have money as a valuation system to express what this bag is worth. So when we're talking about self-worth, the question underneath, how do I build my self-worth, is actually, how do I perceive myself as valuable? Here's the part that gets bittersweet, because opening up your psyche to the question, how do I perceive myself as valuable, is simultaneously opening yourself up to the fact that you don't currently perceive yourself as valuable. And the reason why I say that this is bittersweet, it can be painful, it can even bring up feelings of grief, is because the more you dig into reflecting how you developed this pattern, the more you will realize that you were trained to not perceive yourself as valuable, and that's going to break your heart. It's going to break your heart when you realize that someone in your life, in your environment, around you, taught you to not see yourself as valuable, likely because they had a poor perception of themselves and they did not see themselves as valuable, and they did not know how to teach you to see yourself as valuable. So I'm just saying that to let you know, as you start going through this concept, please do not expect it to be peaches and cream and bubbles and kittens. This is not that. It gets better, it gets easier, and the other side of doing this is where your confidence and your authenticity is. So I'm not saying it to scare you. I just want you to be emotionally prepared for when you start doing this. The things that come up are normal. Now that we have a clear definition of what self-worth is, we need to talk about internal and external approval.
Internal approval is something we give ourselves. This looks like celebrating our strengths, not beating ourselves up for our limitations, and feeling overall like you like being yourself. Approving of yourself means approving of your choices, feeling good about your decisions, and even feeling good about your mistakes because you know that you can recover and grow from them. We get external approval from others in the form of positive feedback, praise, and acceptance when we do things that other people believe are good, or that other people like, or that other people can benefit from. This can look like graduating from college and getting feedback from your community that you've done a good thing, and you have done a good thing. But this can also look like taking on a career that you hate because it's more socially acceptable than what you're actually interested in pursuing. Here's the thing about approval. We need both. We really can't develop a healthy, confident perception of ourselves without a mix of internal approval and external approval. We're relational creatures. We're designed to connect with others. Connection or disconnection with other people can affect us biologically. It affects our hormones, it affects our neurotransmitters, our stress levels, it even affects our sleep. Our self-perception is not built in a vacuum.
I'm going to just be honest with you. I really wish this wasn't the case. I would love to tell you that you can completely develop a perfect self-concept all by yourself within a vacuum and you don't need anybody else to mirror you ever. I wish that was the truth, that would have made things so much easier for me in my life if it was the truth. But it's not. Unfortunately, according to me, unfortunately, we do need people to mirror us back and play a positive role in our self concept. That's the reason why a lot of us struggle with our self concept and the way that we perceive our own value is because we never had it adequately reflected or mirrored to us in the first place. And so currently, if this is an issue, if you're struggling with confidence, if you feel like your self-esteem or your self-worth is low, it is highly likely that your ability to approve yourself is very low and you're valuing your internal approval way down here, whereas you're valuing external approval way up here. That's the issue. It's not that external approval is bad and you should never have it and you don't need none of it. It's that your internal approval should not be here and your external approval here. That's going to set you up for a life of people pleasing.
Having a balanced perception of yourself means you approve of who you are and you can hold on to yourself even when other people disagree with you.
Here's the good news, and this is the reason why I explained self-concept as a thing that can be built by internal approval and external approval, because that gives you dials. That tells you exactly what you need to turn up or turn down in your perception to be able to view yourself better, to be able to have a better perception of yourself. So right now, if you struggle with people pleasing, if it's so uncomfortable for you to be disliked, if you struggle with speaking up for yourself or being authentic in spaces that don't welcome your authenticity, that likely means your internal approval is low. And that's the dial that you need to turn up. These 4 questions will help you look at your internal mechanics and determine how balanced or imbalanced your relationship to internal and external approval currently is. Question number 1. If your life is a trial, who is the judge and who are in the jury? This question helps you name exactly who you imagine judging your choices or decisions. Number 2, what do these people value? For example, perhaps one of the people in your jury values practicality and hard work. Question number 3, what do you value? For example, you might value creativity and play. Question number 4, and this is where the real work is. Whose values are taking up more space in your life? This is where you evaluate whether your choices and habits are reflective of your authentic values or of your inherited values. So let me summarize this, okay? Confidence might seem like something that a person has because they're attractive or because they have money or because they dress nice or they just have swag. Those things can add to confidence, but confidence is really about having self-trust. But how do you be yourself if you don't know who you are? This is coming from somebody who I pretty damn well know who I am, and yet I think that I'm going to continue finding out who I am as I change and as I grow. So don't think of figuring out who you are as this thing that you just do once and you're just good. It's an ongoing process. But what you can start to figure out now is, what do you value? What's important to you? What standards do you want to uphold? And as you identify your values and identify your standards, the more you uphold your own values, the more you uphold your own standards, the more you give yourself intellectually and emotionally, and your body as well, permission to approve of you. You send the message to yourself, I can trust me. I have my back. These are my standards and I meet my standards, so I'm good. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a separate video about figuring out what your values are and figuring out what your standards are. I feel like that deserves its own topic. So if you want to hear me speak on that or have questions about that, let me know and we'll talk about that another time. If you like doing this kind of self-reflective stuff and doing thought experiments, I have a resource that you might like. It's called The Reprogramming Lab. This is my digital book of interactive journaling prompts. You enter the prompts into ChatGPT and it takes you through a coaching experience. I've designed this myself. It's available in my Etsy store. If you want to explore your boundaries and your values, that's there for you. I'll leave the link in the description box below. That's all I have for this episode of Pretty Brilliant. I thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.